It's time to transform your sales game by learning how Apple shifts the spotlight from technical specs to real-world benefits, the why behind it. If you're ready to change the way you sell, and by extension, have a happier life, let's chat. Hello and welcome. My name is Gabriel, and for over a decade working at Apple, I learned everything I could about business in sales, marketing, and leadership roles. For 15 years, I've also been a consultant for Fortune 500 companies. And in this video, I want to reveal how to elevate your sales by embracing Apple's approach of highlighting real-world benefits over technical specs. So let's dive in. So why am I here? Making my first YouTube video. Yes, my first YouTube video, so please be gentle in the comments. Besides loving Apple, so much so that when I left Apple, I founded I Bleed in Six Colors, IB6.com, which is a site for Apple fanatics. Besides loving Apple that much, I also love business and the impact it can make in people's lives. Business success to me equals freedom, whether that's money, time, whatever it may be. And I want to help you learn the skills that Apple taught me that I know work outside the walls of Apple. There's always a difference between pristine stuff inside and the real world that can get dirty on the outside. So if you're here to talk about the challenges and the opportunities around sales. Specifically, what I see that it boils down to more often than not is two things: connecting with clients and, most importantly, closing the sale. Connecting with clients on a human level makes it worthwhile, don't get me wrong, but ultimately you need to pay the bills. As amazing as Apple, the initiatives they do in communities all around the world, they will tell you in their trainings and in conversations with leadership, Apple is a for-profit company. What allows Apple to do those amazing things is clients and customers buying those iPhones, buying those Macs, and that's what we're here to do, to help you close those sales so you can do those amazing, impactful things in your life. And last thing of transparency here, we're just here for a chat. I may have recorded this video one time before this, and too high energy. It's just not me. So let's have a chat, and where I want to start off is kind of make sure we're all on the same page of features and versus benefits and what they are in kind of the real world examples we're going to be using. So an example of a feature for a consumer product like a phone or a computer you'd be talking about is something along the lines of fast processing speed, high data storage capacity. Examples of features for a service, if you're offering professional services, professional expertise, comprehensive reports based on the service. I'm only a phone call away 24/7. Those are the features of services or products. So what is a benefit, right? The benefit is the impact those individual features have on your customer or client in a positive way. How is it improving their lives? Sometimes it doesn't have to improve their lives, it just has to make it less miserable. That's equally a powerful motivator for people. But how does it impact the lives of your customers? So let's talk about that. Why does Apple do this? Why does Apple talk about benefits and not about features? Well, because they know it works. And the reason they know it works is they have spent a lot of money researching, refining these techniques, teaching them all over the world, both in Apple stores, online stores, corporate offices all over the world. And they work, and I've personally seen them work and transform businesses, putting these simple things into step. So the why. Talking benefits resonates with your customer on an emotional level. It helps show the customer or kind of envision the product or service in the real world and the impact it's going to have on their life. And that emotional level is where those purchase decisions are made. Now, I don't want to discount the bits and the bytes, the individual components. Those are important, but they really serve to reinforce those benefits that you're helping the client envision. Yes, there are some clients that are all about the numbers, the bits and the bytes. but that's not the majority of people. The majority of people are going to be impacted by those stories, by those benefits you're talking about, and the impact on their life. So once again, not only make it more awesome, give them freedom or whatever, but you can't underestimate the power of less miserable, as I like to say. And the example that I'll get to momentarily kind of goes into that. So let's take a step really quick and talk about how Apple uses features versus benefits, an example of that on an everyday basis with a product that you are no doubt familiar with, an iPhone. Now, we do, in a typical interaction with a customer at an Apple store, you're going to do a little bit of homework with the customer beforehand. It does require a little bit of work asking questions. And we are going to have a separate video about questions and the impact and the power of questions and what kind of questions to ask. But I thought it was important we start with the why behind the benefits before we get into questions in another video. But something as simple as, so what do you use your iPhone for now mostly? And the customer mentions that he loves his kids play soccer, and he loves going to the games, practices, watching them perform, and shooting video and photos and so forth. So for me, when I'm presenting the benefits of one phone versus another, I'm not going to be talking about, well, the resolution of this or the 10x optical. No, it's going to be, man, how awesome would it be for you to record your kid scoring that goal and be able to do it in slow motion with a higher frame rate? Or you can be all across the field and zoom in and still get an amazing shot of your kid making that save, and it's not going to be all blurry because of iPhone's amazing optical zoom. So those little differences help the client understand the impact of the feature, what the benefit is. They're going to remember that, man, I'm going to be able to take amazing slow-mo videos of my kid, not, wow, the frame rate of this or the burst mode of this camera is amazing. That's what's going to take you over the edge and sell. So let's apply that to kind of a real world example, and literally a conversation I had with someone last month. We'll call him Pablo. It's not Pablo, but we'll call him Pablo. So Pablo's business is a phone service, and they basically outsource your incoming process, your phone calls to Latin America, kind of virtual assistance thing. And legit, I thought it would be a wonderful service for my clients, especially the solo practitioner attorneys out there who are doing it all, client intake on the phone and so forth. And he was telling me all about the training that they put these people through, and legitimately all very impressive. And I knew this was a service that I could be presenting to people that I know that might get a lot of use out of it. But no connection on an emotional level. And I chatted with him about, how it was going, and definitely it could be better. And one thing I asked him to try was, instead of talking about the amazing training program and so forth, let's go for the impact on the client. So in this example, how much time was the client going to be saving by not having to ever post a job posting on LinkedIn or Indeed, or interviewing 25 people to find 2 good people to then maybe hire someone and hopefully they work out, and the training time and so forth. Like, you taking someone that off someone's desk is the benefit, right? Not talking about the training program and this, that, like, no. I'm going to take this off your desk and give you back 20 hours of your life that you can now dedicate to earning more money, having more time with your family, whatever it may be. Another thing service that they offer as part of the package deal is, they handle the HR situation, right? This virtual assistant is an employee of the company, the vendor, not the client, the lawyer in this situation. And that's where I go back connecting on a human level. I tell the customer, like, do you want to never have to have an awkward conversation with an employee of them not performing? We'll handle that for you. Don't worry, you'll never have to discipline an employee for not doing great. We'll handle that for you. And that was the click, right? Like the aha moment for him, where he saw like, okay, that is what's going to connect with the customer, not necessarily the numbers of, training this and this many phone call check-ins and so forth. And this is where you getting to know your client on a human level is another opportunity to connect on a human level. He used the phrase pain point a lot. Pain point. People don't talk that way. You could, but I like to say, like, the example I gave him is like when you're talking to someone, asking like, what do you hate to do when you wake up in the morning and you have to go to work? What are you hoping to avoid? What is going to make you miserable? And like, oh man, I got to do that today. And you best believe finding staff to answer the phones well, bilingual, all those things, that pain point can be connected with on a human level by saying like, what sucks for you, and let me take care of it for you. That's the impact. So we understand features versus benefits. We understand the why. Now let's talk about putting this into action, right? And the first step is going to be very simple, right? Whatever your product and service is, write down the features. These are the things you have been talking about. This is the stuff on the brochures or the slide deck. And you're going to write corresponding benefits that are going to be the more impactful stuff. So one easy way, if it's kind of hard for you to get in that mindset, I highly encourage you to reach out to former, current clients who used your products in the past. Number one, it's great business to always be keeping those connections, but also just ask them what's been working, what kind of impact did this have, and I can assure you it's going to be stories that you'll be able to use as benefits, and it will be things that were not on those brochures, on those slide decks, because those features don't matter. It's the benefits that are going to be the selling points for those future clients. So let's talk about the obvious. There's always going to be some challenges. So let's just kind of talk about the common challenges that can arise when you're implementing this shift. And it is a shift in mindset. And there can be challenges, especially if you're leading a team. Features can be very comfortable for people. They read it off a flyer and they can regurgitate it to a customer. Learning how to properly present benefits to a customer involves some homework. I have to ask better questions. I have to listen. I have to show empathy. Those things are sometimes difficult for people to make a change over because it's easy to read the flyer, but that is not going to result in connections with your customers, and it's not going to result in as many sales as it could compared to building those emotional connections. So we talked about empathy, listening, asking questions. One powerful way to do that, especially in the context of a team, is the training and role playing. I cannot tell you how humbling it was when my first day at Apple, I came in, 30-year Mac user. I thought I knew everything. I'm like, this is going to be easy compared to the kids here. I got this. And we used role-playing those interactions. And man, I don't know if you've ever seen kind of those games that you can't say certain words and they'll buzz you if you gestures, whatever that is. That was kind of the role playing was sell this Mac without mentioning any features. All right. And it was very difficult for me and I got a lot of buzzing. But finally, when it clicked, I'm like, all right, I got it now. It was so liberating because I no longer had to memorize the numbers. Once again, it's helpful, but it's not what I led with. It was let me utilize my other skills of connecting with people on a human level and finding out what makes them tick, what motivates them. And that made the process more enjoyable and ultimately resulted in me becoming a better salesman, a seller. So utilize training, and if you're not in a team, get a friend, ask them to role play with you in terms of selling the product or service, and you're going to, number one, be exposed to a lot of maybe opportunities for you to improve, but also you're going to see immediate benefits of once that kind of mind shift happens, how easy it is to kind of get the ball rolling and you'll never look back. And once again, it's way more enjoyable to connect with your clients on a human level than just let me read, or let me, read this flyer, or just look at this slide deck and this presentation and so forth. Along those lines, a challenge for a lot of people can be kind of getting rid of the technical jargon, right? Every industry has it. Every product or service has it. Once again, it's comfortable. We already know it, right? We memorize it, and letting go of that and kind of going back to basics of, what are you going to be using this for? How does your day look now? What sucks about your day? What sucks about, dealing with these clients? How can I help? Those kinds of questions or interactions don't require the technical jargon. So get rid of it. It'll force you to go to basics, but those basics are powerful. And ultimately, the power is in your hands. Make these subtle changes and you will be rewarded by not only selling more, selling better, but you're going to have a client who's more satisfied because they feel that you actually listened and the solution you presented was the right solution for them. There are countless studies of why or how the satisfaction not only is in the interaction, but it's the customer later on continually believing they got the best solution. If if a customer were to walk out of the Apple store and immediately feel like, man, did I buy the right phone? Is this the right computer for me? Should I have gotten more memory? Should I have gotten this? Should I have gotten that? That ultimately takes away from the satisfaction that they've had and the satisfaction they're going to have in that product. That's why it's important that you not only let the customer leave with the right product or the right service, but that they know it because you've done the work of listening and presenting the right solution. So simply put, get to it, make the changes, do the work of improving the questions, the listening, and think open-minded about what are the benefits of your products and services, and you're going to be rewarded. Sales, satisfaction, and you being happier with these interactions and not just kind of going through the motions. So I highly encourage you to subscribe. I highly encourage you to check out the next video about questions, because that equally is going to be go hand in hand in making this impactful. I'll see you next time.